Hello, my name is Braynoski.
And I'm Awesome Rouse, and you're watching The Inner Gamer On.
And today we'll be talking about the Xbox Series X versus the PlayStation 5. We go head to head now that we have pricing, we have release date, we have console specs, we have game lineup, we have all of that and more. And we are here to tell you what we think about each console and what we think is going to win out as we exit 2020, the shittiest year in the world, and move into 2021, which will hopefully be the best year in the world. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. So, stay tuned, watch us, and get excited because here we go. Let's talk about it.
And as always, if you enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe, and bang that bell because you want to.
Yes, folks, we are here. We finally have all the information we've been waiting for. But yeah, we have it all now. We have the pricing. We have the console sizes. We have the release dates. We got all the things. So we're going to dive into it. But Xbox, for example, brought out their pricing and release date through Twitter. But ultimately, end of the day, there's two consoles. The Series S, $299, which can run 60 frames per second at 1440p. Which is more than 1080p, which is great. So that's kind of
2K.
Awesome. 2K, yeah. And then we have the Xbox Series X. It's gonna be $499, and that is going to run 4K at 60 frames per second. And those are going to be coming out on what did they say? The 10th of November, I believe. Is that right?
November 10th.
Right? Okay.
Yep, you're right.
And then the PlayStation 5 is coming out 3 days later on the 13th, I believe. Am I right on that? 12th.
November 12th.
Yeah, so PlayStation 5 also has two consoles that are coming out, but they are a digital edition and a physical edition. So one of them has a disc drive, the other one does not. Otherwise, they're the same console. Same hardware, same all that stuff. It's just visually they look different and they have a disc or not. With that, it's kind of exciting. The disc version, physical edition, is $499. So it is the same price as the Xbox Series X. But then they also have the same specs of a digital edition with no disc. That's $399. So it is cheaper than the Series X with the same power, but you just don't get a disc drive. It's interesting the two positionings here of the console systems, because one was like, let's release a cheaper version of a console that still was a much better improved version of what we have now, but doesn't run exactly 4K, but it's really, really good and it's super cheap. Whereas the other group was like, hey, let's bring out two consoles that are super powerful and awesome, undercut the price of one by just taking out a hard drive, taking out a disc drive, and the other one is going to have the disc drive, and it's a little bit bigger and bulkier and stuff like that, but it'll be the same price. So it's an interesting move on both sides. But I mean, I like it. I think they both have good offerings there, because now you've opened up a new market for people that want to get a next gen console but don't want to go all in for the $500. That $300 mark for the Series S is like a very good price point if you're okay with buying a freaking desk fan. Let's talk about the PlayStation 5 showcase event, because whereas Xbox was like, we got to just drop this out and put it out as a tweet, which I'm sure they were going to do some kind of event maybe, but I mean, they had a games event, but it wasn't, again, like they've done all these games events, but they don't have any original titles that are really coming out that much. So it's just hard to like really get a buy-in. But then PlayStation, on the other hand, is like really leaning into the exclusives, right?
If you don't mind, I'd like to kind of go through my experience of how I witnessed this event all the way to the end, which will sum up most of it. When I jumped into this, I started off with Miles Morales, right? And it was already in the gameplay. I came to the stream late because I was taking a nap and got up late. I saw that. I was already blown away. I was like, oh my God, this is like already great. And then they open up with Harry Potter, Hogwarts Legacy. Like, holy shit. Like, it's not an exclusive to PlayStation, but just like, dang, PlayStation was able to get this in their showcase. I feel like is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because I just feel rewarded just for watching it to begin with. We go through Resident Evil Village and Call of Duty Black Ops. They're all cool stuff. We see some cool things. Demon's Souls looks amazing. I don't know what is up with Deathloop. I hope that surprises me, but at this point, it just sounds like whatever. Oddworld Soulstorm. What'd you think about that? This keeps coming back. Oddworld keeps coming back, and it's just like it's whatever, I guess.
It's a cool game. It's just not my kind of game that I play.
Same here.
I mean, it has an interesting looking visual, but I won't play it.
Yeah. And then they had Friday Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, but it looks kind of cool, interesting. It's a
I
lot
was
of
impressed that
mystery
it was
there.
like freaking full blown. Like they went all out with the graphics and shit. Like
yes, they did.
It's not your old indie game anymore. Like this is like full on ray tracing, high quality stuff. Like that was an impressive teaser.
Yeah. And then we jump into Devil May Cry Special Edition, which is cool, you know, for people who want that. And then no one cares about Fortnite PS5 optimizations, whatever. But then we come to the what's up? I know, right?
Yeah.
And then we come to the PlayStation Plus collection for PS5, which when I saw this, I was like, this is huge, huge for PlayStation, because not only are you going to get PlayStation Plus, but those who are now either on the fence or want to come into the PlayStation universe, they get to play a plethora of games from PlayStation 4 generation that they might not have been able to play. And it's just going to be there ready to download straight out like day one, as far as I know.
PS5 enhancements.
Yeah, like this is amazing. And for this reason, I think I actually want to get the digital edition for PlayStation 5, because the reason I was going to get the one with discs is because I have all these games from before that I might want to eventually go back and play at some point in time.
But these
now I don't have to.
I was going to say, yeah.
Now I don't need those games. And I think this is a good way for PlayStation to actually kill the physical copies. Like, I think after this generation, they probably won't be there anymore.
Yeah. I definitely want to dive into that a little bit later, because that's definitely a good talking point, I think.
But this is huge, and I don't know if people understand how huge it is. At least in my mind, this is huge. Like, I think this is going to bring a lot of people in too, as well.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, a lot of people get Xbox, but I think this is just like a cherry on top of everything else. You get great graphics, and you get to play all those great experiences from before. Like, sold. If I was on the fence, I'd be getting it. But then at the very end, they're like, we got one more thing to show. And I was like, what could they even have to show after all this? Like, I'm already blown away. And of course, they bring out God of War 2 Ragnarok, and I was just losing my shit, man. I lost it. I was over here just like, what the fuck? I should have been streaming myself. I would have gone crazy on stream.
But bigger, like not only that, but 2021
next year.
How the hell are they going to have this game out by next year already?
A year from now. I guarantee you it's going to be a year from now.
Yeah,
it's probably going to come out in November or something.
It's probably going to get delayed into March of 2022. Yeah. Hopefully not, but it's yeah.
Just to build the hype, they'll just delay it too.
Definitely a shocker. Yeah, that was I mean, it's like I was thinking they would have something like that, but I was just like, I don't know. I just didn't have an expectation of like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, here's God of War, but it's also next year, like the first year of the console. Yeah, like my the whole time I was just on a roller coaster, and it never went down. It just kept going up. And obviously, when God of War came out, I skyrocketed. Like, it was just a great everything I wanted to see and more, probably. Well, yeah, and more, because God of War 2. Yeah. No, I mean, it's so awesome. I was definitely impressed with. I mean, opening up with Final Fantasy, which again I'm not like, super excited about, but I know for people that like it and like this game looks really great. But when I saw the Spider-Man one, like I was already impressed the first time I saw it, but we weren't exactly sure what kind of game this is going to be. But this definitely looks like a very full game. Like I still think it's going to be like a Lost Legacy, but I mean the visual effects in here. I mean, the big thing I feel like about this generation is going to be lighting. And just, basically just lighting and effects. Like that's what's going to like really push it over the edge. Because I mean, looking at games on the PS4 Pro, they still look great and they still like rock it with like quality of graphics and stuff. But I think here we're going to see, like there was that moment where he was on the bridge, Miles Morales was like flying up, and then he like went way high up in the air, and you just got to see the whole entire city in the backdrop. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that looks amazing. Like just so good. And I lost it at that moment, because just seeing all the detail in the distance was incredible. And then all these different lighting effects and all the cute, like there's some quick time events in there, but they weren't. It's like I was listening to somebody talk about this, and they said that when you watch a Spider-Man demo, like the early days of the Spider-Man demo, and there was like, there's no way this game could look this good when you're playing it, and then you play it and it did look that good. Yeah. Like the same thing here. Now I know like what they did before was amazing, and what they can do now is going to be amazing, because they've already proven themselves with the first game. That's right. So hopefully they don't fuck it up somehow, but I felt very, very good about what I saw. And I'm excited about this new character, because we've seen Peter Parker a billion times. It's nice to have a different take on this world, with
for sure.
a new player. So
yeah,
that was a big one. And then like you said, the Harry Potter one, like that was mind blowing to me, because I've been waiting for that announcement to happen for so long, and it's like, of all places, like freaking PlayStation picks it up. And it's like, hey, surprise reveal, here it is. And it looks so cool.
I know. And it's an open world game. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
At least open area.
Well, open world, it's an RPG. It's a full-on RPG too, which is like awesome. So you'll have like character leveling and skill trees and all that stuff. But
create your own character.
And the on the note, the PlayStation Plus collection, like that's one of the big things I think is going to make a difference, because both of these consoles, both the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, are entering into a generation. Like, I know they've been trying to. I know that from a developer standpoint, they don't want these things to exist in physical form, because in physical form, we're going to have an issue with, like if you buy a game, digital or a physical edition of a game, and then you go and sell it to somebody else, developers aren't getting that revenue for that game being resold. And I think that's a big issue for them. And they see it as like a profit loss opportunity. They see it as an opportunity of money that they're losing that they should be able to retain and get back. So by them pushing for digital editions as much as they are, I think they're really setting themselves up to just kind of capitalize on this a lot, because they don't want to lose that revenue with those physical sales. Like every time GameStop gets a game resold, like they're not getting that money, and they're like, we want that money. So by pushing so much into the digital world, like we're definitely going to a digital future where we're not going to have disc anymore. And I think, I'm kind of surprised, honestly, that Xbox didn't really embrace that with either of their, because is the Series S, did it have a disc drive?
It does not have a disc drive.
Okay, so they did have one that didn't have a disc drive. So
yeah,
but I'm surprised their top edition doesn't have, or they didn't. I don't know. Maybe it's fine that they have an option. They don't have an option there. But I think the PlayStation 5 having like, here's the same console, but if you don't want a disc drive, here you go, and it's cheaper, but it's still just as powerful. There's actually, even though everybody's pushing towards like this idea of like Xbox having the Game Pass and how big of a value it is, which it is a great value because I can play all that stuff on my PC, and I'm still going to keep that. PlayStation kind of has their own Game Pass in a sense, but it just doesn't bucket it that way. But if you consistently follow their PlayStation Plus and you download their games every month, you're getting great games consistently. But the thing is, they don't ever go away like they do on Xbox Game Pass. Right. You add it to your library, you have it. I have Metal Gear Solid 5 I added to my library a while back. I may never play that game, but it's in my library because of that 1 month that it came out for free. So, and then now this collection, it's huge.
Depending on how you play games, you could have a year to 2 years worth of games to play.
Oh yeah.
So like you don't even have to get any of the new games. You just get this console and pay that monthly subscription, and you're good to go. Like you're set.
But yeah, jumping back into the just the comparisons between the two consoles, like we talked about the pricing, basically the same unless you get the digital edition of the PS5, which you're going to save $100. The biggest changes here is the CPUs, I believe, and the GPUs, and then the hard drives. So each one has PlayStation, has been working and really touting their solid state drive. That's 825 gigabytes, which is going to be rough because you're going to run out of space real fast. So I'm going to have to get an external drive probably to run more games. They even were saying, like, I think if you loaded up Miles Morales and then one of the other games that's coming out at launch, you basically have filled up like 30% of your hard drive already, maybe 40%. So it's going to fill up real fast. But yeah, the big differences here, there are many huge differences other than the fact that, technically the PlayStation 5 is 10 teraflops, whereas the Series X is 12. So there's a little bit of difference there. The RAM is the same. They're both doing 16 gigs of RAM. The memory bandwidth is a little bit different. So the PlayStation 5 is 448 gigabytes a second. The Series X is 10 gigabytes at 560, but then in 6 gigabytes at 335. I don't know what exactly that means, but ultimately they're pretty similar in hardware with the exception of the solid state, which I'm anxious to see side by side what that looks like in testing. I want to look briefly on the console launch lineups, because we know they have PlayStation Plus collection coming to the PlayStation 5. So you're going to have 30-ish games at launch that are from PlayStation 4 era that you can play on PS5. And then Xbox is going to have the Game Pass that has thousands or hundreds of games on it or whatever. But as far as the actual like launch lineup goes for like what's coming exclusive, there's not a lot on either side. And some of which are still up in the air. So there's going to be like 8 games at launch. And for Xbox Series X and S, which is not a lot. In comparative to Xbox One, they had 22 games at launch with 8 exclusive titles. So it's definitely a much weaker launch. The Xbox 360 had 28 games at launch. 9 of them were exclusive. And the original Xbox had 11 exclusive games with 19 total games at launch. So this one has less than half of what they've ever released at launch for the Xbox. So concerning. On the note of PlayStation, in another world, they have 5 launch titles. So they have a lot more, because it looks like they're going to have Valhalla, Astro's Playroom. So some of these we don't know if they're going to be launches, though, because they're not like confirmed. But like Bugsnax, supposedly it's going to be a launch game. Deathloop should be launching. Demon Souls, of course, Destiny. Destruction All-Stars, Fortnite, Ghostwire Tokyo, Godfall, Gran Turismo 7, but see, some of these aren't approved yet, so it's like we don't really have a definitive lineup. But I do know that I think Miles Morales will be in that first month window. I know Destruction All Stars is coming out at launch. Godfall is coming out at launch, and
there's something there.
A few others. Yeah, there's some titles.
I mean, we don't have to have like this gigantic library at launch. I don't feel like. I mean, plus, I want to be good games, right? But if there's like 1 or 2, like honestly, if 1 or 2 came out, okay, if 2 for sure came out, like that's something that will hold me over, till maybe the following year. I don't want to be packed with games.
Yeah. I mean, for me, honestly, like between the 2 consoles, like I'm more excited about the PS collection on day 1 PlayStation 5 purchase than I am like a day 1 purchase of the Series X and having the Game Pass that I already have on my PC.
Right.
So it's like not as exciting to have that, whereas the collection is like, these are curated games that I know will be cool, and a lot of them I honestly haven't finished yet or played through. So that's also cool.
That's right. Yeah. No, you're right.
Like I'm down to get Bloodborne for free and finally try it.
Yes. That's right.
And then, finally play. And I'd love to go back to Uncharted for a little bit now that I have it for free.
Right.
So a lot of good promises there. And if they're all like up like ready for PS5, they've been upgraded a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's why PlayStation doesn't need a bunch to line up with. I mean, you get a badass console with games that you've already loved, which I guess some people won't be super excited about that, but even if I just got Miles Morales, like I'd be so happy. I'd be like, all right, I'm playing this for like a month,
Yeah.
What's going to come out in December? I mean, I do think PlayStation is where it's at right now. I mean, Xbox is just ho-hum, whatever. It's fine. They got some cool things, but I don't think it's cool enough to get someone like us to actually go over to them. And I think this is, you're going to see, because we already had a bunch of people go from Xbox to PlayStation this generation. I think you're going to see even more of that.
But I mean, that's kind of where I stand, is that I think definitely PlayStation 5 is my way to go. And I think I'm really leaning on the digital edition. I mean, I'd like to have that physical to be able to buy the disc, but I just don't see myself going to GameStop as much anymore. I'm really curious to see what 2021 looks like for these consoles, because there's a lot of people that just aren't going to buy. Now, obviously, like PlayStation 5, Miles Morales, like that's a console selling point for sure. Yes. The PS collection console selling point too. Xbox Series X, there isn't really a console selling point right now for that console. Like there is no reason other than Call of Duty, Madden, the traditional things, which is a market of people out there that is going to buy that Xbox for that stuff.
Right.
But 2021 is where they're both really going to kind of show their like grow into like who is going to be the one that's going to come out on top. And I mean, hopefully Halo Infinite comes out next year, but I'm not holding my breath right now. All the shakeups that have been happening. Yeah. But we know, we got God of War next year, which is crazy. We know we have Ratchet and Clank, which if they don't bring it out by this year, it's definitely going to be early next year. Horizon Forbidden West might come out next year. And what else would we have? There's others that I can't think of at the moment, but
right.
There's a lot of games already that I see my excitement for on the PlayStation.
Yeah,
and there's
already a lineup going into the next 3 years. You know,
yeah,
at the least, and even at the most. So, you know, I'm excited. I'm pumped. I have nothing to look forward to with Xbox, minus Halo, which I can play on PC now.
Yeah.
So I know I just felt like they killed themselves with that move. It's great for us, but I don't think it's the best for them moving consoles, unless they don't really need to move as many consoles now that they have the Game Pass. I don't know.
Yeah. They might. I mean, I don't think they do. I mean, I see a very big market for the Series S. I think that was a smart move on their part to bring out a $300 console that is better graphics than any console they currently have with higher frame rate. Like that's going to sell for a lot of like parents and stuff that want to get their kid a console and not like break the bank. Yeah, that was a very good move on their part. Because there's a market there for that. It's not a Switch. It's more hardcore gaming. It's going to be the Fortnite console for kids, you know? Like basically that's what it's become. True. But they're not doing their mobile phone or whatever. But the Series X is just like, it is kind of hard to get behind that console now that we've seen the PlayStation 5 and the fact that they literally undercut the price by just bringing it a digital edition. It's going to be an interesting future. Well, awesome. So I'm curious to know, everybody that's watching or listening, how do you feel? Like Series X versus PlayStation 5? Or are you going to get a Series S? Are you going to get physical or digital of the PlayStation 5? What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments and give us your impressions of if you are switching systems, why are you switching systems? Or if you're sticking with it, like what are the big reasons for, like what are you so excited about with this next generation of consoles? Or could you care less? Are you going to keep your existing console and just let that run for a while? Let us know in the comments, and we would love to hear from you, or shoot us an email at hello@thenergamer.net.